friends, and welcome back to CS Mentor. In this video, I'm going to be starting out with chapter 16 of Jurisprudence, Interpretation and General Laws, and that chapter is your Right to Information Act. Now, the reason I'm going into the Right to Information Act of 2005 directly instead of doing some of the earlier chapters is first of all based on its simplicity, and second of all, I want you students who are looking at my video to get a general understanding of what a law is and how it is to be read. Okay, now through the initial first few videos, I will share a presentation that I have made and teach you all the contents of this chapter. But later on, maybe like after the first 3 videos, what I will do is I will go into the chapter itself and preferably look at the RTI Act, the BEAR Act itself. Okay, so that students can get an understanding of how laws are to be read. Because once students understand how laws are to be read, it becomes very simple to understand any law that might come out in the future. So let's do a helicopter view of this chapter so that we can understand what exactly is the contents of this chapter and what we will be studying in this chapter. Alright, now the contents of this chapter, if you look at it, we first need to study the preamble of the Act and the objective of the Act. Now, you may ask me, ma'am, is there a difference between preamble and objective? I would say no. Okay, preamble means objective. Because what is a preamble? A preamble is a type of an introduction to the law. And it's not just an introduction, rather, it lays out the goals and the ideals of the particular law. So, there's an intro. It may even lay out the goals of the law or the ideals. And these goals and ideals is what I would call the objective of the Act. Okay, so the first thing we will be looking at is the preamble and objective of the Act. Now, we have to remember that this law came into force only in the year 2005. But then, we as India, as a country, received our independence in the year 1950. Okay, so between the year 1950 to the year 2005, what happened with regards to the right of information? Okay, the simple answer is that there existed no law, or at least the Right of Information Act of 2005 being legislated only in the year 2005. Prior to that, there was no law. Alright, so instead what we had was, we had the Constitution of India kind of supplementing or reading in the right to information within its provisions itself. Okay, so those provisions are your Articles 19 and your Article 21. So this is what we will be studying about in the second part of this chapter, that is the right to information or the right to know, which is present within the Constitution of India itself. Then we will be looking at some specific definitions, because these are certain words that I will consistently keep on referring in this particular, throughout this particular chapter. So it's better that we know the definitions in detail before we move on with the rest of the chapters. The rest of the chapter. We will study about, in the definitions itself, we study about some person known as public authority. Simply put, when we are demanding our right to information, it simply means that we are asking someone to provide that information to us. So in simple words, I can say that authority who has to provide that information to us is only known as the public authority. So we will be studying about the definition of who a public authority is in the definitions itself. But then after that, we will be studying about the public authorities and their obligations. Okay, what is it that is required by them to do under this law so that they can carry out the provisions of the law. The next one we will be studying is on the procedure of how to request for information. So that is manner of requesting information and the duties of a PIO. So who's a PIO? He's a public information officer. So this officer is the one who's charged with providing information to the public. So there are certain duties that will be imposed on him. See, he'll have a duty to provide information within a certain a specified period of time or in a certain manner, anything. All right. Then procedure involved in requesting information, correct, that also comes within the previous topic. Then we study about something known as information commissions. Okay, we have one at the central level, so central information commissions, and state information commissions. Now, you may ask, ma'am, didn't you just say you have a public authority, you have a PIO, and then you're saying there are information commissions? It's very simple, all right? Public authorities are the general wordings, okay? Whereas under them, you will have someone known as a Central Information Commission or the State Information Commission, and underneath them, you will have the PIOs and the assistant PIOs. This is the order in which your public authorities are set up so as to provide information to the public. But don't worry, we'll go into detail about the structure in the later part of the chapter. And then finally, we have the salient features of the Right to Information Act. What are the features of the Right of Information Act that make it so powerful? You see, in terms of understanding it from a textbook point of view, it's a very small chapter. So, for an exam point of view, it'll be like, oh, this is easy to study because I can finish off this chapter really fast. Okay. But on a more, if you look at it on a more expanded view, you'll realize that this right of information is actually a very interesting piece of legislation. Okay. Simply because the right of information involves giving information to the public. Something which our government is famous for not doing. All right. Anytime you go to a public office or a government office, say prior to 2005 or even 2007, it'll be very, very difficult to, get information from these officers. But now, by bringing in this particular law, it now becomes a duty on the government to provide the information that we need. Now, I constantly keep telling you information. But the point is, what exactly is that information? Okay. So let's take, for example, the PM CARES Fund. All right. Now, this is a very interesting topic, at least in a more current affairs point of view. Now, the PM CARES Fund, all of you all know, was set up by the Prime Minister's office during COVID-19. Okay. And then you had many companies who were putting in money into this PM CARES Fund for the purpose of tackling COVID-19. All right. Now, I have donated 5,000 rupees to the PM CARES Fund. I believe, okay, even I have to do my part in this particular fund, and I donate 5,000 rupees to it. So, in essence, what the Right of Information Act of 2005 allows me to do is, it allows me to ask questions to this PM CARES Fund on how my money is being used. Okay, this is the purpose of the Right of Information Act. It states that if there's any public authority or any person who is involved in a very in a public role, or at least in a governmental function, they are duty bound to provide us information. So, simply put, over here, I can ask any question I want to the PM CARES Fund, specifically to ask how my money is being used. But here comes the big, Here comes the big legal point of view where, it's in the news. Like, many people are talking about it, and it's quite a controversy. Because the government has come out and now said that the PM CARES Fund will not come under the ambit of the RTI Act. Why? Because it is not a public fund. So, this I felt I should give it you all as information so that you all can maybe Google it, and since you all might be interested in knowing more about this particular scenario. But other than that, it is not important from an exam point of view, so don't worry. In the next video, what I will do is I will start going into the chapter itself. So guys, I shall see you all in the next video. Do stay tuned in for all my upcoming videos where I will be doing detailed explanations and analysis of your jurisprudence interpretation and general laws.